Hello and welcome to the Tully Free Library's annual program, Meet the Candidates for Tully Board of Education. My name is Annabeth Hayes and I'm the director of the Tully Free Library. Joining me tonight is Tully High School senior Morgan Downs, who has been the moderator for this event for the past several years. We also have 6 candidates running for 2 seats on the Tully Board of Education. The election will be held on May 17th at the Tully Elementary School. The purpose of this event is to have the candidates introduce themselves to the community and tell us why they are running for Tully Board of Education. We expect everyone to remain respectful and collegial throughout the program. One candidate, Debbie Vito, couldn't be here tonight due to a family emergency. She's disappointed that she can't join us. If anyone has any questions for Debbie on her candidacy, you can call the library at 315-696-8606 and leave your contact information for me, and I'll pass it along to Debbie and she can get a hold of you. Tonight, Morgan will be asking the candidates 3 questions. Each candidate will have 3 minutes and 30 seconds to answer each question. We'll give you a warning if you run over your time, and you'll have 10 seconds to finish your answer. After the last question, each candidate can give a closing statement for 1 minute and 30 seconds. This program is being recorded and it will be posted on the Tully Free Library's YouTube channel by Friday, May 6th. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Morgan.
Please introduce yourself and give an example of a change that you have initiated and achieved in collaboration with others.
Okay, so hi, I'm Ryan Chatfield. I'm a lifelong resident of Tully off and on, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but I graduated from Tully High School. My kids, Evelyn and Thomas, currently are attending the high school in 8th and 10th grade, and they're active in sports and extracurriculars. I work for OCM BOCES, so I work at the Cortland Alternative School teaching science there. And so to get into the meat of the question, a change that I've initiated and collaborated with others on is something that comes to mind is that my family moved to Hawaii and we lived there for 5 years. So there I taught as a CTE health science teacher. I was a lead teacher teaching, and I saw a need that my students really needed a place to be able to learn their skills and practice skills and have more opportunities than they currently had. So I wrote a grant and I collaborated with our complex area superintendent as well as our principal to say, like, are we going to be able to do this if I get this grant? So it was Farmers Insurance, Thank America Teachers. It was for $100,000. I wrote the really not thinking that, I would even get it or have a chance at it. And it turned out I was the top 10 finalists in the country. And so it was a wonderful experience of, working with our principals and other students. And even I worked with band teachers because we had to get votes and publicize it and have people vote for our project. And we ended up a little bit out of the money for that. But we ended up getting the local chapter of Farmers Insurance to give us $10,000 for the project. And the project main thing I wanted was to build a health science center for my students that could also serve as a community clinic. We were a Title I school, a lot of people, and we needed a place where people could go and just check their blood pressure and get tested for the flu and different things. So anyways, I was able to do that. The publicity was fantastic, and we got a lot of community members interested. And I was able to form an advisory board with administrators and health professionals, business owners, parents were all on this board. And we ended up creating a program for our students where they could go and get trained as phlebotomists with our local clinical labs, which was down the street from us. And we also partnered with Long's Drugs, which is like Kinney's, and they are able to get training for pharmacy tech there. And, and when COVID hit, some of these students, their parents lost their jobs and they had a way to make money. They were working at the pharmacy, getting trained to be a pharmacy tech. And so I'm very proud of that. It's continuing, even though we moved back here in 2020, November 2020, the programs are still continuing and my students are still have that training and are continuing to work in those programs.
Thank you. So number 2 on the list is Mrs. Russell, if you want to. And do you need the question repeated?
No, thank you.
Okay, then go ahead.
Thanks, Morgan. Hi, everybody. I am Bettemae Russell. A little bit about myself. I am a retired school teacher from right here at Tully Elementary. I spent the vast majority of the 30 years of my professional career teaching and coaching in the district. I am, like Ryan, a lifetime resident of this amazing community. I am a 1984 graduate, as is my husband, Jeff. We have 2 grown children, Christopher and Elizabeth. I am an active member of the Chetfield Presbyterian Church, and my faith is extremely important to me. I am a proud member of this community and have been for as long as I can remember. Getting to the second part of this question, as I mentioned, I taught in Tully for many, many years. I retired in June, and in May of last year, it had been brought to my attention that we were hiring a new elementary school teacher, and I had some questions regarding the selection that our district was looking to make. I sought out our elementary school principal to inquire about how those decisions were made. And within that conversation, it was brought to my attention that the hiring committee at that time had been composed of 3 administrators and 1 teacher. And although that had not been my initial question, it did become concerning to me. So I decided to dig a little bit deeper into whether I was the only one that found that peculiar. So what I did is, after again going to my elementary principal, I went to my peers and I invited teachers and support staff to attend an open-ended meeting in my classroom to discuss their thoughts on the makeup of the hiring committee. We met, we talked, there were several people that were interested. We talked, we shared where we thought it would be best to take this issue. And after collaborating and determining our next steps, I then was the one who brought it to the Board of Education in at a Board of Education meeting. And at that time, it appeared that not everyone was aware of the makeup of the committee. And once that was brought to their attention, I do know that there have been several hiring committees since that time that now consist of a much more balanced group of stakeholders that reflect our community and the school community in a balanced way. That is my most connected example of collaboration. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Next up is Mrs. Cardamone. Do you need the question repeated?
Why don't you repeat it, Morgan? Thanks.
So question 1 is, please introduce yourself and give an example of a change that you have initiated and achieved in collaboration with others.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Dee Cardamone. I'm presently on the board. First, I want to thank Annabeth Hayes and the Board of Trustees of the library for making this event possible, giving the community a chance to hear each candidate allows a well-informed voter, which I absolutely believe in. One of the initiatives that I took on was bringing back Candidates Night. At the time, I can't remember if I was on the board or not, but we had stopped having Candidates Night because there was a new rule in New York State about schools not being a part of the political process, and so was completely stopped. So I took the initiative to ask the library trustees if they would be interested in carrying this on. And voila, they did. And it's been running really well since then. Another initiative I took on was to have pre-K in school. It's been something that I've wanted ever since I've been on the board. Um, and this took a bit longer than getting candidates night, but with the support of the board as well as the superintendent, recognizing that this was an important addition to Tully schools, and then being able to have the business administrator figure out how we could fund the program, we were able to do it. And it finally happened, and with great results. I am really happy about having pre-K. Collaboration is also a really big part of who I am. I've joined many school organizations as well as community organizations. I am part of the elementary school PTO. I was also a part of the high school PTO, but that wasn't able to hold on. I was part of STORM, which was that's the newer name of Black Knights organization, as well as a member of the Lady Black Knights. I was a trustee on the board of the library board as well. I'm a part of the Purely Auxiliary, president of the Music Association, as well as treasurer for the Ag Advisory. There was a group of us, community members, who recognized that there were a bunch of students that were unable to do anything after school. So we tried to create a place for these students to be, and Doc Edinger allowed us to be in his barn. And it was a good program, but did not last. There are many good people on the board, and collaborating with a great group of people, past and present, has really been a joy for me. So I can honestly say that I am strong in both initiatives and collaboration. Not that I'm perfect, but I believe in both being an important part of a board member. Thank you. Oh, I forgot to time. How did I do, Morgan?
I think you're okay. I think there's a warning if you reach your time. So I think you're
good.
good.
Yeah, you're
Thank
good.
you.
I have a couple of people have gone like 10 seconds over. I'm just gonna let that happen. So I'll interrupt you if you really, really go over.
Okay, thanks, Annabeth.
Okay, thank you. Next for question 1 is Mrs. Kania. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, you are. Thank you.
Do you need the
Well, good evening, and thank you all for being here. I am really happy to be running for the school board, and if elected, I look forward to serving all of you. I've lived in the Southern Hills of Onondaga County since 1996, and here in Tully with my husband Mike and our 4 children, Matthew and Natalie Slazik, who are graduates, and Colin and Marshall Kania, who are currently in the school system, for the past 15 years. So although I did not grow up in Tully, I do have strong roots in this community. My grandfather, Ellis Bishop, attended a one-room school in Atisco, my dad tells me, and my grandmother graduated from Tully. Her name was Ruth Patton. And I know that I have many cousins, some that I know and some that I don't know in the area. In my professional life, I have worked over the past 20 years in the nonprofit sector as a financial and human resource executive. And if elected, that will be my contribution to the board, is that strong business background that includes a very in-depth understanding of nonprofit financials and regulations, which are similar to those of a public school. So throughout my life, I have had the pleasure of working with a diverse set of teams. And to get into the meat, as Ryan said, of this question, I want to explain a recent change that I initiated in my current leadership role in collaboration with the team that I took on in my leadership role. So recently, when I came aboard, I took on a department that had low levels of performance. And by recognizing each member's strengths and weaknesses, because we all have those, right? And by holding one another and ourselves accountable to perform at the highest levels of standards, we gained trust and respect for one another. I lead a team by being an equal part of that team. I don't believe that any team member is more important than another, and that includes myself in a leadership role. So each person plays a vital role. And that doesn't always mean that we agree. I think that would be amazing if we did, but actually it wouldn't be, because I don't think that we would generate new ideas that way. But I do think that with trust and respect that was once established within the team, that we were able to gain the benefits of effective conflict resolution, which include understanding each other's perspectives, new idea generation, and resolutions that benefit all, compromise and resolutions that can benefit the entire team and organization. Today, I'm happy to say that my team and my department is not only operating at high levels of performance, but together as a team, we have spearheaded and rolled out several initiatives that have improved communication within the organization and with our partners and members, and we've increased transparency with our stakeholders. I could not have done that by myself, and I lean into each one of my team members' strengths. And I believe that each one of my team members played a vital role in that transformation. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Mr. Ray, you're next. Do you need the question repeated?
No, I know it. Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Downs, and thank you, Annabeth. My name is David Ray. I have grown up in Apulia Station and live in Apulia Station for glorious 55 years. And I graduated from Tully High School in 1986. I live in the town with my husband of 28 years, Terry. And we work in the community so children can talk to their parents and everything. So there's less conflict when they do have to talk about a situation, about their sexuality, about why am I dating this person and not this person? So just to have that open communication with everybody in general. So more communication can be out there, so less bullying, more peace of mind, and where everybody can work together as one. I am a nurse. I graduated 5 years ago from nursing school, and I really enjoy my job. And the initiative that I took at work was having the staff show more compassion to the patients. A lot of the nurses and everything rush in to just do what they have to do with the patient and pass it off to the provider. And once a month we get together and we just talk about how we can help our patients feel better, because most patients that I see are in pain. And if you can get them to think about something different other than the pain they're in, they feel better. And I've talked 40 people, other nurses, into just listening to the patients, giving them compassion, and repeating back that, yes, we have heard you. And that's been going on for 6 months now, and we are retaining our patients now, and more patients are coming to us because we're more open and listening. And that's my goal if I do become a board member of the school, is to keep my ears open, listen, give feedback, and not judge. That's where a lot of problems come in, is the judging. And we're past that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. For question 2, Mrs. Kania, you'll be first. And question 2 is, there are many issues that our school community is trying to address. A few examples are diversity, equity, and inclusion, known as DEI, climate mitigation and adaptation, safety, and the after effects of COVID. Please discuss with us your top 2 issues that you want to focus on if you are elected to the school board.
Great, thank you. Boy, it was really difficult to pick just top 2 issues, but you know, I did spend a considerable amount of time reflecting on this question. And if any of you have had a chance to look at my website or have seen my flyers, or if you're one of the teachers out there that attended the Teacher Association Candidate Q&A, you will know that the platforms that I run on are transparency, accountability, and partnership. And while that is true, I do believe that those are a means to an end. And the end, for me, is quality education for all. And I want to repeat that and emphasize that. Quality education for all. So I want to take an opportunity to just break that down a little bit and talk about quality education and how is that provided? How can we succeed at providing quality education? Well, you can provide the best teachers, the best textbooks, the best athletics, and so on. But if a child is stressed over acceptance, self-image, COVID, a myriad of other things that our kiddos face today, they will not be able to absorb what you put in front of them. If a child is hungry or worried about their parents having enough money to put food on the table or pay the next electric bill, they will not absorb what you lay down in front of them. So we must make mental health for our children a priority. I think that we can all agree that this is of utmost importance. I mean, today, all you have to do is, you know, turn on your social media, turn on the news, pick up a newspaper, and you'll see another teen suicide. It's tragic, and we must come together to put an end to it. And on top of that, if you're a part of a marginalized population that you don't feel part of, or that you don't feel like your voice, that you're seen, or that your voice is heard or considered, your social and emotional well-being suffers. So then I say, yes, inclusiveness of our diverse student body is a must. That each and every student, regardless of race, gender identity, economic and or family status, deserves the same opportunity. Each and every student deserves the same opportunity to not only education, but to the sense of community. So you know that old saying that it takes a village to raise a child? Well, I say that it takes more than that. I say it takes a town. It takes surrounding towns. It takes partners that can provide resources that they're experts in. And I think we need to tap into the resources of all of our community members and the partners that we engage with to ensure that our children, and not just our children, but our teachers and our families, are happy, healthy, and safe. So I challenge us to come together with empathy and understanding and to lean into each other's strengths to make this happen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. For question 2, next up is Mrs. Cardamone. Do you need the question repeated?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Question 2, DEI, climate mitigation and adaptation, safety, and the after effects of COVID. There is also health and nutrition to think about, creating policy and funding for all of these ongoing concerns. Keeping up with educational standards of our students and therefore supporting our teachers. Let's not forget our buildings and grounds either. There are so many thoughts and developed skills as a board member you must consider in order to be effective. At this moment, a big concern for me is after effects of COVID. Some students have lost their compass. Being out of school for a length of time has caused some fear of COVID, how to interact with others, lost their way on even how to study. The district hired more social workers, We hired another psychologist. We've reached out to agencies in order for them to support the teachers that are dealing with all of these issues. And we must center ourselves on our students' well-being, as well as continue to educate them. DEI has made me even more aware of problems to be solved. The board needs to be thinking about not only LGBTQ plus AI students, but our economically challenged students, how we can be more supportive of our special ed students. And we have to support the largest group of all, the average students. Not that Tully has a single average student, but I just wanted to make that clear. I don't think anybody is average. Are we passing on our own prejudices? We need to be thinking globally as a community. Creating a community-wide DEI committee will help us to move in a good direction. We must think about making our earth healthier for our children. If we don't, we leave them a legacy of not caring. The Native Americans have this wonderful saying, we are only borrowing the earth from our children. I think about that often. Thank you.
Thank you. Next for question 2 is Mr. Ray. Would you like the question repeated?
No, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
My two main concerns are diversity. We need to have teachers, other staff, the Board of Education members, be open and listen to our children when they come to us. A lot of issues are us adults do not listen when our children talk. And if we start listening to our children, maybe situations in school will get better. And children shouldn't be afraid to go to a teacher, and a teacher shouldn't be afraid to answer a question honestly to a student if they ask them and be held or get in trouble for. If I had a student come up to me and ask me if I was gay and everything, I'm going to say yes. I'm not going to hide it. I'm going to be honest. You need to be honest with the students and everything for the school community to work properly. And that would be one of my focuses. And the other would be the climate change and everything. Have students do projects and everything through the school that work with the climate. It's like when we were in school, we used to get trees to bring home and everything for Earth Day and plant. So if you can get kids involved in the school community and everything by doing small projects and stuff and giving them kudos for doing a great job when they least expect it, that brings a lot of quality to a child and a lot of mental health pluses too, because one positive word to a child can make their day or month because they may not hear it all the time. And that's encouraging. And that's what my focus would be, is to help the children feel comfortable with who they are, be able to talk to their peers, adults, and get answers that they need. And that's what my focus would be on if I was on the school board. And thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Mrs. Russell. Do you need the question repeated?
I do not, Morgan. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Everyone, I'm going to start out by apologizing straight up. This question, I have quite a lengthy answer, and to make sure that I get everything in my allotted time, I'm going to go ahead and just read what I have written. So I want to apologize for that right up front. I hope I can keep you engaged. I truly believe the Board of Education is the school's foundation. Anything strong starts with a strong foundation. One of my top 2 priorities is to strengthen the Board of Education's foundation. I wholeheartedly believe this begins with Robert's Rules of Order. Robert's Rules of Order, by definition, provides structure, guidance, and decorum while facilitating the orderly operation of a Board of Education meeting. If you have been to or live streamed a Tully Board of Education meeting in the past 12 months, I don't need to tell you how blatantly absent Robert's Rules of Order has been and how desperately needed it is. I want to be a part of bringing Robert's Rule of Order back in order to create a strong foundation that is capable of supporting whatever the next top issue may be. So with that being said, my second top issue will remain fluid, solely based on what the top issue is at that particular time. No one should run for the board if he or she cares solely about his or her own agenda, but rather be willing to ebb and flow based on the specific needs of that time. A Board of Education should always demand a solid, balanced budget. Expect strong academics that push our kids to be their best selves, and to prioritize well-being and safety for all students, staff, and employees. I truly want all the people of this community to feel the board is a reflection of our community, a community to be proud of, with a board made up of people they can trust and know their voice matters. And that Board of Education says what it means, no matter what the current issue is, that we say what we mean. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Mrs. Chatfield, are you going to need the question repeated?
No, no need. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
So Colleen started us off talking about mental health, and I did the same thing as her. I went over everything and tried to think, what is my number one thing? What it kind of ties everything together. And you have to go back to mental health. You know, after COVID, it may appear that our kids are back to normal. You know, I was at a softball game and everything looks great, but our kids came back less resilient, more anxiety. And it's there. They may be doing the things they were doing before, but it's there. So we really need to address mental health. And I think we need to make it everyone's issue, right? Shouldn't just lie on the teachers. It shouldn't just lie with the students to deal with it themselves. It has to be a community-wide thing that we are integrating. And so one thing that, you know, I have a little bit of experience with is there's actually a thing called mental health first aid. It's just like CPR. You get a training in mental health first aid. And so I think that was something I would push for in our district, is that not just the teachers or the coaches or the administrators, but the students too. So I trained, you know, my health science students, they got training in this. So they're the ones talking to people. They're the ones eating lunch. They're the ones out there. And so you empower the students to take part in making sure everyone's okay, making sure that you're asking questions. If someone is acting weird or they're not talking, say, what's going on today? And you have those tools, just like CPR. There's questions to ask. And then there's something in place, that there's systems in place that they can go to somebody and say, you know, I think so-and-so might be struggling. You know, what can we do? And that gets handed off to somebody else. And those people can take action and make sure that everyone's accounted for and everyone has a voice and no one is forgotten about. And so I think we have to be proactive with that. We've seen, based on some recent events, and you know, people come with stories of mental health challenges, and they're all, you know, the causes are all different, but they all share that every student's mental health should be put first. And so I think that as a board member, I will work to make sure that, you know, students have the resources and we're not forgetting about any of them. We're not just letting some slip by because they're, you know, might not be like everybody else.
Right.
We're really taking into account that part of it. So I think that would be my number one. My number two, I think, would just be planning for the future. Our enrollment has been flat or down. We need to be thinking about You know, what is Tully going to look like down the line, and what are we going to be doing? And I think the students can be involved in that. New York State has just come down with a new diploma pathway with civics. So you can get a civic seal on your diploma. And a lot of that involves community outreach and getting credits for doing things in the community. So I think we need to be planning for that, making more partnerships and opportunities for students to get involved. And that goes back to the mental health. If people are connected and have passion and purpose, then their mental health improves. And I think that's a great way that we can use that new diploma, a new thing as a jumping stone to make sure those kids that maybe they don't want to do sports, but maybe there's another thing in the community that they can get connected to.
Absolutely.
So that's my two big ones.
Okay, thank you. So we'll go on to question 3. Mrs. Russell, you're up first. And the question is, the school district is an important part of our community. All over the country, communities are experiencing tension due to a number of diverse issues. How do you view the relationship between the school district and larger community? How would you help strengthen that relationship as a member of the school board?
Thanks, Morgan. I feel that the Tully community has for as long as I can remember, had what I would consider a strong relationship with the school district. That doesn't mean that it's always sunshine and roses, but for as long as I can remember, the school has truly been the heart of this community. And I feel that one of the things that we can really continue to strive to strengthen is that relationship of making sure that the community as a whole feels like it is a part of the school community in both directions, not just one. So for an example of how I think that we could go about looking at that is really focusing on getting back to being a community that outwardly shows that we are proud of our past and embrace our history. I know that several of the issues in the not so distant past have really come from that sense that this community, for those of us that have been a part of it for a very, very long time, has lost that heartbeat, has lost its history. So, for example, I feel like when things come up that we know are going to be important to the community, we can look to create subcommittees as needed. We have a subcommittee for athletics. We have a subcommittee for policy. You know, when things pop up, we can create subcommittees for those as well. So, for example, when things like, you know, painting over a mural, or removing the elementary mosaic, or getting rid of the senior composites the way that they had been displayed for years and years, removing our memorial plaques. Those are important to people, and they shouldn't just happen or be perceived as things that just happen with what appears to be little regard for our history. Those things have significant value. They mean a lot to the community. And oftentimes our community takes it personally, and I think they should. I want to get back to that time when people felt heard. And this is just one example of how strengthening the relationship between the school district and that larger committee can benefit all of us. It starts with strengthening the relationship between the Board of Education and the outside stakeholders as well, by providing that strong foundation, feeling that you and your voice matters, and building on that is one example. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Chatfield, you're up next.
So I think that, you know, Bettemae is talking about, more involvement, more voices. I think that's absolutely true. We have to be listening to everyone. And I don't think all voices are being heard right now at our school, whether it be teachers' voices, students' voices, and then people that don't have kids in the school. Where are we listening to those voices as well? I was just talking to someone that said, he hadn't stepped into the school since he graduated. And you might know some people like that too. They're like, I never went back, but he still lives here, but he hasn't been back to the school. And so you might be thinking, yeah, I know people like that. But you know what? He's one of the biggest landowners, his family in Tully. Okay. But he hasn't been back to the school since he graduated. So think about that for a second. We're not engaging everybody that's in the community. The school should be the center of the community. And I think we need to work right now. Our enrollment's down. We have some empty classrooms. We have different things. I think we got to think outside the box of how, not just having committees like Bettemae said, but how are we going to bring people in? Maybe we could have people, have startup businesses, use some of those classrooms, think outside the box, get people coming into the school for different things, not just for sporting events, but have it be the heart of our community. Let's think what we could do to get people involved, and that benefits students. If we have businesses and different people coming into the school, the students benefit as well. And so I think we really need to think a little outside the box of what we can do with, our enrollment's kind of flat or going down, but we have this wonderful facility in the center of town. So what are we going to use it for? And I think as a board member, I will encourage people, I don't have all the ideas, but I would encourage people to talk about it. Let's have some meetings. Let's think, what should we do with it? What can we do that will benefit you and the students and make this the center of our town and really something that everybody is proud of. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Kania, you're up next for this question. Do you need it repeated?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay,
I'm going to apologize up front. I'm going to probably go over on this question. I think this is an extremely complicated question to answer. There's a lot to unpack here, right? So let me start by saying that I think that Tully Schools, well, I don't think, Tully Schools is the center of our community, quite literally, right? It's our future. The school can't exist without the community. But on the flip side, right, the community can't exist without our school, okay? And what do people think about when they're looking to put roots down, or whether they're looking to stay where their roots are planted? They look at location, affordability, that sense of community. And I want to pause there on that note, because I think that that sense of community needs to be available to all. And while I do agree, traditions and history are wonderful and important, but how are we embracing our newer community members, or the people that haven't lived here their whole lives? Because I tell you, I feel like an outsider sometimes. And then people look at the school, this report card of the school district, right? So if we want this community to be here for years to come, for our kids and our grandkids, then I think we must attract families to stay here and also to move here. If our enrollment, I'm going to jump on what Ryan said, if our enrollment continues to decline, we're not going to have a school, we're not going to have a community, right? So how do we ensure that we're here for future generations, right? Well, we become a school of excellence. And I believe we can do that. So our community residents are our customers, they're our constituents, and I think it's extremely important that the community's voice is heard. And the school board should represent the community's voice. If elected, I will ensure that I represent the community's voice. I will listen. I will truly actively listen to everyone's point of view and to everyone's concern. But I also think it's important to remember that the Board of Education's job is to oversee and not to run the school district's affairs. Okay. Our oversight comes with tremendous responsibility. It has the responsibility of setting direction, aligning strategies and resources, programs and policies. The responsibility of setting the standards for the superintendent to operate under, and to evaluate the superintendent's actions towards setting those policies in motion within those standards that are set. We have the responsibility of representing the community in public education. So open and honest communication is essential. Communication, by definition, according to Merriam-Webster, right, is to transmit information, thoughts, or feelings so that it is satisfactorily received and understood, to open into each other and to connect. I'm an introvert. I fill my soul and I rejuvenate myself in solitude. But I don't want the community members to take that, my being a more quiet community member, is that I don't care or understand, because I absolutely do. I'm a listener. I listen, I receive all the facts, I listen to all the sides, and then I form an opinion on that. Okay. I also think it's extremely important to remember that, much like a corporation, the school district has a chain of command. And it's important that we honor that chain of command to retain relationships. And relationships in community connection with the school are extremely important. Relationships are important in conflict resolution and, in mental health, right? Relationships are really, really important. So we have to honor the chain of command to build trust in those relationships, the relationships between the teachers and the families, the relationships between the principals and the teachers and the superintendent and the board and the community, right?
Sorry to interrupt, Colleen, but you, if you can just wrap up your question.
I will wrap up right now. So the key ingredient to a healthy relationship is effective communication. And I will do my absolute best to ensure that we are communicating effectively with the community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Up next is Mr. Ray.
I do not need the question asked again. My priority would be Tully itself as a community, the town itself, think they're alone. They don't consider the people who live in Lafayette, Atisco, Homer, or Apulia Station who are within the Tully School District as partners for the school. They are looked as outsiders. We need to bring the people who live on the outskirts of the town into the town so the school can run better. And for a lot of the people don't feel like they're welcome. People who live outside of the town of Tully get bullied when they go to school. I got bullied when I went to school. I wasn't in the center of town. That's a priority. We have to include everybody outside of the town of Tully that goes to the Tully School District. And we just need to all come together for everybody's sake, for the children's. There is so much disparity going around. Kids don't know what to do. It's us adults and the board members to be able to be approachable to people, listen to them, and give feedback. But we're here for the children, so what we take in has to be for the children so we can implement it properly. I'm sorry, but I do not have children myself, so I'm doing the best I can do here and trying to bring people together for the Board of Education and for the students. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least is Mrs. Cardamone.
Excuse me. Why don't you read the question over so that some people who are watching might be able to hear what we're answering?
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
Question is, the school district is an important part of our community. All over the country, communities are experiencing tension due to a number of diverse issues. How do you view the relationship between the school district and the larger community, and how would you help to strengthen that relationship as a member of the school board?
Thanks, Morgan. I honestly believe the community as a whole is very supportive of the school district. whether we have many dividing issues or just one or two. But I do believe that even the angry people who've been coming out really care about the school. I never doubted that. I believe that they care about the school as much as any other person in the district. But when civility leaves, chaos begins, and that's what happened, as does the important lesson we need to teach our children. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is one way of strengthening our community relationship. I've just begun that journey. I never in a million years thought that I was prejudiced. I've always been accepting people, accepting of all people, and especially students. That blew my mind, that I could possibly have a reason as to not accept a student. But what I learned was that I grew up in an era where good people didn't say anything, and that doesn't help our students who are GTQ IBT plus AI. And that's why I believe that DEI is a program that is inclusive of everyone. Anybody in the community could be a part of the DEI. It's an inclusion of all of us, and we can start from there. I've come to the conclusion that I need to see our teachers and administrators more often and listen better to what they have to say. Then, when a parent or guardian comes to me, I will understand both sides. Not knowing, for me, is not a reasonable excuse. But I absolutely do believe in the chain of command, because most problems should be resolved by the people involved and not necessarily the Board of Ed. Yes, I have heard from a few people representing some of the angrier parts of the community, but there are many Tully residents who believe in us, who support the Tully School District and are proud to live here. Tully is my home. I know it to be a community of good, kind, smart, and polite people. When a teacher or principal tells the board about the students, how well behaved they were at a district contest or a class trip, I always have this huge smile on my face, but in the back of me, I'm saying, yeah, I know, that's the way our kids are. They're good kids. And that's because our community is a good community. So I believe that I just read something about when there's a crack in a tree, light comes through. And I think we are that tree. Tully is that tree. Tully School District is that tree. And we've cracked a little, but some light came through and we're learning a lot because of it. So I feel really positive about the community coming together and all of us learning how to be better at it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to our closing statements. And Mrs. Chatfield, if you'd like to go first, you can start.
First of all, thank you, Annabeth. And Morgan, for hosting us. And thank you all the other candidates for being here and providing such thoughtful responses. I think it's going to be a tough choice this year. So I think that's a great thing for our community as well. So as a candidate, I believe that I can bridge the gap between the school and the community. I have experience teaching at other districts. I've taught at Auburn, which is a city district. I've taught at Onondaga Community College. I've taught in Hawaii. And I've also currently teaching working for BOCES and teaching in Cortland. So I think I have different perspectives as a teacher. So I understand the teacher's perspective, but I also bring in some new perspectives maybe that we can, and I can share with people. And I hope that I'm open and the teachers feel approachable and building that trust back into the board and making it a place where it's collegial and collaborative and there's ideas flowing both ways. That would be my vision for the board. That there's this flow of ideas between the community, the teachers, the board members, and we're all using those ideas to move forward and solve our problems. And I believe I had the teacher perspective, I have perspective of building boards, and I have 2 students in the school who are very active and in different types of roles at the school. So I get their perspective as well. And so I think if you're trying to make a choice and you want someone that has those perspectives, I would be the one to vote for. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Wright, you're up next.
I would like to say thank you to the panel and to you, Ms. Downs and Annabeth, for tonight. And in my closing statements is I would be open for everybody to be able to talk to me if I was on the school board and listen to the community members so I could bring new ideas in so we all could work together to make the community and the school a lot better. And even what I would do is, even if the candidates who didn't win, I would ask them for their opinions through the whole process also, because they were part of this. So why not include everybody that was involved in the Board of Education this year? You know, it's like we may not win, but we have our voices so we all can be heard together and to work together, you know, for our children's sake in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Mrs. Russell.
Lastly, folks, I would again like to thank everybody on the panel, for Annabeth for organizing this, for Morgan for doing such an awesome job, for making us proud, and for all of you who are listening in tonight. It matters. Your voice matters. Paying attention matters. And I think one of the things for anybody who knows me that I am sure to bring to the table is a glass half full mentality. I am definitely someone who looks for the light to bring as much brightness as we can into whatever the particular situation is. And I wholeheartedly want to continue to bring that to Tully Elementary and high school and the district as a whole. I've spent the vast majority of my life connected, and I'm just feeling that this is just the next step to keep that connection going. It is a unique situation, and I'm not going to pretend to have all the answers, but I will tell you that you will have a person who will give it her very, very best with the whole package in mind: community, school, teachers, all of us together for everybody's well-being and best interest at heart, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much, everybody. I really, really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. So next up for closing statements is Mrs. Cardamone.
Thank you, Morgan. I won't ask you to repeat anything. So as I read this at the teacher's Q&A, and I think it reflects very much of who I am. But first, I want to thank the entire panel for being a part of this. We are all smart, caring people, and we want the best for our students. And it's wonderful to be a part of this group and to hear your ideas and where you would like to go as a board member. They've all been wonderful. So this is what a friend wrote of me. Loyalty and optimism are rare qualities. The ability to meet one's mistakes is even rarer. It takes experience, strength, and vision to run public schools wisely. It takes patience and the ability to listen to all voices. Dee Cardamone has shown us she has all these qualities and wants to continue using them to serve the school community. Dee Cardamone has been on the Tully School Board for 12 years through 2 superintendents. She was elected by Tully voters and served under Superintendent Prince first. Dee enthusiastically joined the school board. I care about the kids, she has always said, and for sure, she has always placed at the center of her mission the well-being of Tully students. Sorry, I lost my place. At Tully, the well-being of Tully students, faculty, and staff. The next 3 years will be no different. She will continue to fight for better, healthier, more diverse, and more sophisticated education for our students. She will continue to carry out the educational mandates of New York State. She will continue to uphold the rights of faculty and staff to flourish in a supportive environment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And last but not least is Mrs. Kania for your closing statement.
Hi. Thank you all. I want to repeat what everybody said, that thank you, Annabeth and the Tully Free Library for hosting, and to Morgan for moderating. A big round of applause and a huge thank you to all the other panelists for your participation. I think there were great things said and really great input. And thank you to all the participants and the listeners in on this for your support. In closing, I would like to say that if elected, it would be a true honor to represent this community's voice on the road to becoming a school of excellence. And I believe in my heart that we can get there. If you look at current board members, I think there's tremendous amounts of strength in their skill set. You know, we have board members with experience in teaching, experience in law and facility management and public administration. And if elected, what I will bring is the experience in nonprofit business management, specifically around financial and budgeting for nonprofits, strategic planning, and setting policies and procedures. Because a school is a business, and we're in the business of providing a quality education for all. I lead with empathy, and I believe that this community can do and must do better for our kids. So please make your voice heard and get out and vote on May 17th. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. I'll turn it back over to Ms. Hayes for anything else before we go.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. Again, this recording will be up on the library's YouTube channel by Friday. And we will post once that's up on our website and also on our Facebook page. So keep an eye out for that. I want to thank all of the candidates tonight. It was really great to hear from all of you. And again, if you have any questions for the 6th candidate, Debbie Vito, you can just call the library at 315-696-8606. Leave your contact information for me, and I will pass it along to Debbie, and she'll get back to you. So again, thank you so much to everyone. Thank you, CLRC, for allowing us to use the Zoom webinar feature for this event. And don't forget to vote on May 17th at the elementary school. Bye, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night. Thanks,
Good
everyone.
night.
Night.
Bye-bye.